a kobold queen with visions of a world made new in fire and rage. Driven by prophecy, she has filled her followers with the raging passion of her cause. Now, you step forth into her burning realm. Dark shapes move among the rising embers. Thick-skinned beasts belch gouts of fire. It's an ambush! Roll for initiative. Battle is about to commence. Epic encounters. Turn your RPG up to 11.
For those that do not know, and they crack open these books, and we've discussed this before, but it's kind of unique to, you've got a character that's very famous, Melf, who has several spells named after this character for some very specific reasons. And we also have Mordenkainen. Is it true that Mordenkainen is effectively your father's character?
Yes, Mordenkainen was my dad's character. He named him after Väinämöinen from Finnish mythology as a wizard, and that's how he came up with that. So most people were playing fighters, and my dad wanted to be a wizard and cast, weave arcane magics and control the world that way. So instead of being Conan.
Did you ever get to play as Melf with your father playing Mordenkainen?
Mordenkainen was an NPC that I interacted with a whole bunch because Melf worked for as a member of the Red Rampart Guard. He was worked for Mordenkainen, helping him. Even though Melf was goodly and Mordenkainen was neutral, he believed in maintaining the balance. And so I could see the utility of that. And in a world such as Greyhawk, where evil had advantage in many areas, the people who were seeking a balance were often working on the side of good. So I found a way to be able to ally with Mordenkainen and advance his efforts, as long as they aligned with where Melf was going with being good. Melf was really a goody two shoes. He felt very self-important about advancing good and how important he was to this cause. So he had a big ego.
I mean, Mordenkainen kind of strikes me as very much the dungeon master NPC, right? This is someone who's sort of neutral, but causing you to get into trouble, the quest giver, right?
Yes.
And Melf being the hero in all of this. What has it been like for Melf to show up and you can continue to play this character for almost 45 years with, celebrities, friends, people you would never think you would have maybe ever met, and for you have this so many years invested in a single character? What is that like? You have spells and
it's really an honor.
Very smart reason for those spells, by the way.
yeah, we have talked about those before. But yeah, that's playing Melf is just he was my home character with my dad, so it's a lot of great memories, there, and I have learned to appreciate Melf and capabilities in different ways as I have matured. Right, I started playing him as a kid, right? So now as an adult, I see different facets and different ways to implement his skill sets, and maybe not always be neutral greedy. Instead of NG, my abbreviation was neutral greedy. I was I was definitely a treasure seeker. I wanted to get that power so I could defeat bad guys more so. It's a little bit more nuanced play, but what an honor to be able to sit at the table with, all these folks and help create some really wonderful adventures, some super high quality DMs and just great story arcs. So I've enjoyed the ride, and I hope I get to continue doing so for many years to come.
Thank you, Luke Gygax, for being on the show. We have more interviews with him coming up later. If you'd like to support more D&D videos like this, go to my Patreon page or just subscribe on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching.
Hey,
you're
good
live.
evening, everyone. Welcome back to the March to GaryCon, brought to you by Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms. Thank you guys for sponsoring us so that we could do this. This is a very special episode of Luke's Lounge. I'm here with a bunch of our Elemental badge holders. It's our top tier badge holders. And Luke's Lounge is where I just get together and chat with people. It started during COVID-19. For those of you who don't know, I'm a member of the California Army National Guard full time. That's my day job. And obviously COVID's been extremely challenging, as well as all the civil unrest and wildfires and all sorts of craziness. So I was working a lot of late hours and not able to see any of my friends, and I was really missing people. So I just decided to hop on Zoom and say, who wants to talk? And that's how this started. And so here we are today, still talking, still in COVID, getting ready for GaryCon 13, which will be coming to you and everyone around the world, March 25th to 28th. There's still badges available, so if you haven't gone and gotten your badge yet, please do so. We have over 850 events, all sorts of great, I think every version of D&D is represented, certainly, and lots of other games. Just go to play.garycon.com and you can get a badge for yourself. So I'm here with these great folks who are supporting GaryCon. I also have a good friend of mine and a friend of my father's, Chris Clark, here with me today. We're going to talk about all sorts of fun stuff, including the Crucible writing contest, which we have underway right now, Nightfall, and if we get to it, Non-Fungible Tokens, just because that sounds like such a fun thing. I get to say the word fungible, so I just wanted to do that. All right, so Chris, what do you want to talk about first? You want to talk about the writing contest, or you want to dip into Nightfall?
I was, well, we'll dip into Nightfall in a minute. I need a little break from Nightfall. Nightfall has been, all that has been in my consciousness for the last week. So I'll take a 10-minute break from that. But I was amazed at the turnout for the Crucible, how many entries there were. And I have yet to find one that I didn't find the writing pleasant, I guess the best way to put it. I've read people where, you read a page and you're out of breath and exhausted at the end of it because you had to struggle through it. And no, they're all good so far. They're all good. So it's neat, I guess is the best way. Am I going to borrow ideas from them? Of course not. I would never do that.
There's nothing new under the sun. I think, this is something to remember. There's no new stories. It's just how you package bits and pieces together. And if you can make it sound original, that's pretty good. Because, really, human beings are only so complex, and there's a whole lot of us who've been around for tens of thousands of years. So
now we have till tomorrow as a deadline for entries on that?
The 7th, and today is the 6th. So yes, you've got until tomorrow to turn them in. Somebody had messaged me that or texted me that question.
But yeah, doesn't it also include that you also have to have an event at GaryCon put in?
That's correct.
But that closes tonight at 11:45.
That's correct.
So get it in.
Yes. Thank you for pointing out. There's 15 minutes less than you thought there was. Okay.
Yeah. So you need to turn it in this evening. And all it is just submitting an event. Okay. It's not like you have to upload the module to Tabletop to submit your event. Believe me, there's been plenty of times where I've just had, what's my title? Good enough. I'll figure out the rest later, right? Isn't that how we all do stuff? I mean,
no, never, of course. No.
Mine's always 100% done before I put it in.
Exactly. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So yes, tonight is so part of the requirements. So the Crucible writing contest. We just figured, hey, what the heck, man? There's a whole bunch of creative folks that come to GaryCon. A lot of great DMs. Let's go ahead and mine into that talent and see if there's some folks out there that we can uncover the next great module writer, the next great adventure writer. So we put together a little contest, and it was about a month, maybe 5 weeks at most, and we've got about 15 or 16 submissions. So it's been very, very strong response. I have some. So I just wrote a little adventure starter, a little scenario, and included a few story elements that folks needed to include in their module. But then You can make it whatever power, whatever level you want to gear it towards is fine. And there's plenty of kind of open space to make my story elements fit. And I'm really looking forward to digging in and seeing what we have. The titles so far are pretty interesting. I think there's one of them, I can't remember was it Temple of the Croaking Frog or something like that?
Yeah, there is one. Yes.
That one was pretty funny. That one I'm like, okay, this is from the title, I think it's gonna be pretty good. And then I called a couple of my friends and said, hey, would you be willing to help me judge this module? And so I've got Tim Kask, Chris Clark, Stephen Randy McFarland, Satine, and myself. So we got a 5-person panel to review these and kind of see what we come up with. They're 5th edition modules using the standard open gaming license. So how well is it structured? What does it look like? How does the story develop? How easy is it for this module to be digested rapidly? And can't, because if you're playing it at a convention, right, you want to be able to pick it up, read through it. I've digested it, and now I'm able to bring it to my players rapidly. I think that's a good skill to have. And then just kind of our overall opinion.
We're actually Roll20 playing most of them with my son's gaming group, because if you took the time to write it, gosh darn it, you deserve somebody to spend the time to play through it. And they're already tired of playing D&D nonstop, but they'll make it through. It's okay. It's all right. Like I said, I think we've been through 4 so far.
Well, that's great.
I gave him until tomorrow off because I was like, no, I'm going to go have a few virtual cocktails with Luke. So,
Yeah. So you let him off. You unyoked him so that he could get a little rested.
Right.
That's great.
I have Alex. I have leverage on my son Alex because he does not know how to fix his own car yet. He's getting there. Pretty soon I'll lose my leverage, but not yet. Not yet.
I say Alex he was just a little tight.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, Alex is 6'4" and 320 pounds now.
Oh, okay, well, it's been a few years since I last saw him, I guess. But I just my image is remembering him at my dad at GaryCon 0 at my dad's funeral, and he was a little guy back then. But
oh yes,
yeah, it's been 13 years, so he's a little bigger now. So
you no longer have him tethered. I mean, yeah.
Oh no little no leash on him.
No leash, Before I forget, too. Just prior to opening today, David had asked about a meteorite module and whether we've ever done something like that. The funny thing is that when I worked at Eldritch with Frank and Tim and Jim, Frank and I were talking about a meteorite module where the meteorite crashes to Earth, the radiation it gives off causes everything to mutate around it. And so you're sent in to find out why all the people and animals have suddenly become evil, and they all worship the great magic rock, of course, But as far as that went, unfortunately, Eldritch didn't hang together the way we'd hoped long enough for that to see fruition. But, yeah.
It's such a cool concept. I mean, that's exactly what I was thinking, is if the meteorite caused the environment to change, it would be such an interesting mystery for adventurers to have to deal with.
Well, I can't speak for Frank. You absolutely have my permission to write that up and submit it, if not for this year's Crucible, certainly for next year's. We're going to do this again, right, Liz?
Yeah, I would love to do that. Oh, that would be a lot of fun. But anybody else who wants to go ahead and do something like that, I just thought, I guess I've been reading a lot of H.P. Lovecraft lately, and, with Dunwich Horror and all of these things, you always think about these meteors. Yeah, just as a story starter.
Yeah, I mean, that's one that you could run with for sure. And I'm not, I'm kind of torn because some people are like, why is it, an old school Swords and Sorcery or 1E or something compatible, or DCC, whatever the case may be. Why is it 5e? And I thought with a short period of time, we'd get the most responses from 5e because that's a little bit larger audience right now. So I'm of 2 minds, either alternating the edition that we pick for the contest, or doing both. But of course, doing both is twice the work, so I don't know that I can do that.
Well, if people really love it, it can always be converted later on, right? I mean,
absolutely,
exactly, yeah. And frankly, I can play any. I'm not well versed enough in 5th edition yet that I feel comfortable writing in 5th edition. I can write it in 1st, then convert it, but I can't write in 5th edition. And I have no problem running my son's 5e modules as first edition all the time. There's just not that huge difference between editions, in my opinion. But still,
yeah, you just fake it till you make it. I mean, I took the Gaxmore CNC version, and I was running it for my daughter's 5e until we were done with the 5e part, and then I said, "Oh, here it is."
Just figuring out where the advantages are. That's the whole thing with 5e,
Yeah, I think as long as you know the material and you can think on your feet, then you're all right. And don't let the players see you get frustrated or flustered. I mean, come on, we've all been there where we're like, "Uh-oh, I didn't think they were going to do that." At least I know I have. Yeah.
I want to warn you that I've already been thinking about next year's module, because I have one that I wanted to see if I could get you involved in.
Okay.
But it's from the Warden. Ooh. Now, can we put first edition through fifth edition characters on the Warden? I tend to think so, yes.
I think.
But the idea was that there was this engineer on the Warden when it was still populated, named Gary, who didn't feel that the engineers were getting their props. So he designs his own hidden control station within the ship that is able to affect the gravity, rainfall, temperature, all of that on one deck. Well, of course, 300 years later, now he's dead, and all this weird stuff is going on, and you're trapped in the midst of it. And so what you have to do is search for the GaryCon. No cymbals, no drums, nothing? I don't know.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Remember to tip your
I was on mute.
The engineer's name is Gary. Did I forget to mention that? Yeah, okay. Anyway, yeah.
No, that's great.
It's his con. Anyway.
Yeah. Yes, it's his con. I get it. It says, yes, that's where he's controlling. That's where he controlled the ship from. Yes. Of course, the best part about that is that my dad would have loved that because he was a connoisseur of terrible puns. So
it was terrible. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm not hurt. Yeah. I'm not.
All puns are terrible, I think, by definition, for the most part.
Oh, no, your dad and I would go on for hours. Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, he would torture me. He would torture me with those. And I mean, I appreciate them. I love them simply because, reminds me of my dad. But yes, that would definitely be approved. So yeah, Crucible, looking forward to it. Did anybody here submit anything for the Crucible? Any of you guys? Oh, you did? Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
We had a guild member do that. He submitted for us. Dave Mogdens.
Oh yeah. Yep. His is in the hopper, ready to go. So, and Mr. Gibson's as well too. So, yeah, like I said, we had a really good response there. But we'll see how it comes out. We'll see who's going to reign champion. And if we got a bunch of good modules, like I said, we may just have to pair a bunch together and make a folio of adventures, because people would definitely do it.
We didn't get to do the arena fights because couldn't get the technicals ready in time. Maybe just have all those people just go in and do arena fights against each other to declare winner.
There you go. All right, I like that.
I hope you meant that virtually, Josh. That's Oh no, right to the death. That's
Yeah.
That way they won't sue afterwards, because the dead don't sue. That's yeah.
Right.
Okay.
The GaryCon Thunderdome. 2-man enter, 1-man leave. I haven't seen that movie in I don't know how long. But, all right, so speaking of more modern era things, and speaking of, we were speaking of cross-genre adventures, sort of here. Nightfall is indeed a module that is kind of crossing the genre there, which we haven't done before at GaryCon anyway. And I don't know if there's a whole bunch that do that or not. But the idea was, for some reason, and Chris will often want to shoot me for doing this, I will come up with an art concept for GaryCon, and then I will say, let's write a module that matches this cover. So the art idea that Jeff Butler was given, I talked to him and gave him the heads up on what we were looking for. It's an old miniatures battle. I don't remember even the rule set that was used for it. If it was maybe Tractics and Chainmail mixed together or something like that. I think it was called Sturmgeschütz and Sorcery. And the setup was one side thought they were playing a fantasy game and the other side thought they were playing a Tractics game. And One side was a wizard with a troll and orcs, and the other side was a German, like a German Wehrmacht unit in Russia, looking to take care of some partisans who were causing a lot of problems. That's what they'd heard. Some horribly, deformed partisans or, subhuman partisans, whatever it was, they had to go liquidate them. And of course, the orc-controlled wizard were off to do some raiding or whatever the case was. And somehow they slipped through a rip in the multiverse and ended up in, some version of World War II. And then they had this battle. And so that's where that cover comes from. I guess I can probably try to pull up a part of it as my background, just to give you guys an idea if you haven't seen it. This is just a little snippet of it.
3.
I was surprised you didn't use like Baba Yaga, since she's so ensconced in Russian culture and is also a D&D. I believe was in Deities and Demigods, if I'm not mistaken.
She is, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if you can see that. I'm pretty small here, but that is a troll, a classic-looking troll, holding up a German.
Yeah, we're losing you on the mic.
You can see it.
Far from your mic.
You can see at least the top part of the troll ripping the arm off of.
So he's ripping the arm off of a poor German soldier, and his club is smashed another German soldier that lays at his feet. There's a guy with a Panzerfaust, like an anti-tank shoulder-fired weapon, shooting at the troll. The wizard is up there with a protection from a shield or protection from normal missiles up, so the bullets are bouncing off of him. And there's a bunch of orcs in the tree line there, and so that's the fight. So that's what
we see. Oh, now all we get to see is you. Hang on 1 second here, Luke. I know how to work around. I don't know. Can you guys see that
look
now?
at that. That's much better.
Okay,
all right,
I'm going to just hold the camera for a minute. But we were going for an entire comic book look to it, like the old war comics from the late 60s and early 70s. So of course it had to have the German soldiers advertisement for toys on the back cover, but it actually does describe the module. So, all right. Anyway, I'm gonna
It's
come
brilliant.
back here.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. So I think it really turned out neat. I mean, I love the cover. So that artwork was going to be the GaryCon 13 artwork, but after we'd already commissioned it and Jeff had done that brilliant job and had said, hey, let's make it kind of comic booky, like a Sergeant Rock or GI Combat or something like that, one of those old covers. Someone pointed out to me, that's actually a pretty violent cover there.
Brutal is the term you're looking for.
Brutal, yeah, right. The guy with his arm ripped off and about to be clubbed over the head with his own arm. A little brutal. And they said, maybe not the most family friendly or child friendly. I was like, that's a really good point. I can't argue it. Why didn't you tell me that when I proposed this idea? That's what I really wanted to ask. But be that as it may, then I approached Michael Siragos, who's a great artist, and he did the art that you're seeing everywhere, the kind of fire. It's a fire elemental or from the world of Okrim. It's out of my Blighted Lands module #1. It's like an elemental lord. And fighting one of the Musri people that also populate the world of Okrim. It's my setting that one of these days I swear I will develop. I've been working on it since 2014. I just haven't really gotten.
Yeah, don't we have an under sand city of the ancient Musri yet to do?
Oh yeah, there's all sorts of good stuff in there. most of it resides up here, unfortunately. I just got to get time to write it down. But anyway, that's how we got the Michael Siragos art. But this was the original artwork, and T-shirts of that and long sleeve shirts and hoodies are all available if you go to the GaryCon store and look at Printful Apparel. That's one of the categories at the bottom of the webpage. If you go to the merch store, you can find it, and they're pretty cool. I ordered a few just for myself. And my closet consists of gaming T-shirts pretty much exclusively, and 75% GaryCon related stuff after 13 years of doing it. But that was our concept. So that's the art. And I said, hey, Chris and Turbo, what are we going to do?
Yeah, write something.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Come on, we're paying for this.
So honestly, I really like the idea that we came up with, which is an evil wizard, kind of on the outs. He's about to be tracked down and killed. He'd tried to make a power move, but he manages to escape through the multiverse and end up where? Well, somewhere in Germany, in Wewelsburg Castle, where some German occultists, have been weaving some spells, and he was able to sense it and use that as a beacon to get there and escape the situation. So in he pops with a bunch of orcs and a troll, and into the middle of a German, patrol or whatever it is, and chaos ensues. So that's the beginning there. And then I don't want to give too much away, but it is Nightfall, Knightftfall.
Well,
I think it says.
Yes, there's a paladin involved in there somewhere, but I'm not. No, you got to read it or play it in order to find out. That's yeah.
And I typed that's a famous Batman comic series called Nightfall. It's the one where Bane breaks Batman's back, which was in the movie. If you Google Nightfall Batman, you'll see it. It's a very famous comic book series. So
yeah, that cover is worth a fortune because people are always fighting for that single cover. That's a big issue.
I promise I didn't put any bats on there. No bats anywhere in the adventure.
I mean, you can't copyright a title, so it doesn't matter.
Well, 100% bat free, I guarantee.
Just so you know, that the first thing when I heard Nightfall in comic, I read that comic when it first came out, so it popped in the mind.
Well, and there are a bunch of really gross undead things that have like red centipedes about 12 inches long that don't just crawl all over them while they try and kill you. They jump on you and try and infest you at the same time. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's what did we end up calling that?
They are the Children of Nergal.
Children of Nergal. Yeah, I knew we kicked around a few names and ended up with the Children of Nergal. Yeah, so. But yeah, those are pretty neat and pretty gruesome, to be honest with you. Really bad news.
Well, it wasn't hard to get going with it once I figured out what you had said, which was, okay, he uses it as a beacon. So the Germans think they've summoned him. He knows better, but he's comfortable with letting the Germans think they've summoned him so that they could treat him like an honored guest, And yeah, meanwhile, he's planning on bringing the negative material plane to 1942 Westphalia. So yeah.
Yes, definitely, probably chaotic or neutral evil. I mean, for sure, he's bad. Yeah.
You gotta love him. Gotta love him.
Yeah. Well, those are the best enemies, right? I mean, come on. Yeah, I mean.
Well, and who doesn't hate shooting Germans in 1942?
I was gonna say, yeah, you get to kill Nazis and.
It hasn't been approved yet. At the very end, I did put that if you did a good job, any weaponry that you managed to grab during your fights against the Germans, you get to keep. Now, just so that you don't get worried that we just blew the power curve on every campaign out there, where are you going to get ammunition? Okay. So you get 10 rounds and then you're done.
There's a limited number of charges, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I think it's neat that one of the things that I always enjoyed in playing in Jim's Ward games is, Starship Warden, is when you found some new technology, you had to figure it out.
Yes.
And he had these very interesting charts that you got to roll on, which was always fun as a kid. I loved rolling on charts and seeing what's happened. I didn't like getting vaporized though, or turned into.
I grew an extra arm. Are you sure? Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the results weren't always fun, but rolling on there was always a tension builder. So we've got some cool charts in there that we get to roll on, and some neat stuff. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. I haven't played too many cross-genre adventures, so.
I know you haven't gone through all of the nitty-gritty details yet. This one was a lot of fun, Luke. Turbo and I have put together some stuff that is going to make you go, oh, no, you can, oh, yeah, leave it in.
I think one of the fun things of what's the one, the expedition of the Barrier Peaks, because it had all the pictures of all the weapons, and you weren't sure which was the business end, right? So it was the first shot was always whether or not you were going to be blowing your arm off or not. That kind of thing.
Even the classic stuff with crossover for things like Boot Hill, and the Dungeon Land and those sorts of modules, always kind of emphasize the differences there. It was actually always kind of fun to see that.
When your party comes upon its first cache of German weapons, the one that's going to be the most fun figuring out is the potato masher hand grenade. Okay, word of wisdom from our good folks across the sea in England. Once you've counted to 3, Mr. Hand Grenade is no longer your friend.
Right.
Just saying. Yeah.
Is there any impetus for being able to research gunpowder in a fantasy world, or does it just not work?
It depends. I know what Gary's thoughts were on that. Gary and I worked on a series of modules called the Wolf Moon Adventure Module Series. 2 of them saw publication, a Challenge of Arms and Ritual of the Golden Eyes. The third one is languishing on my hard drive for a host of reasons that I won't go into. But he was adamant because I have dwarves with blasting powder, okay, which is gunpowder for fantasy people. All right. He was adamant that anytime magic came close to gunpowder of any kind, it caused it to blow up. It didn't matter if that magic was just, oh, I have a ring of regeneration on. You're wearing your ring, you reach into the backpack where the ammunition is kept, and it all goes off. So his idea was that the 2 were inimical to one another. That was Gary's. And I would probably run it in a similar fashion in a campaign that I were to be the GM for. I found that to be a rather interesting twist, if you will.
I mean, even if people did get, whatever, a box of rounds, they got some machine guns and so forth, you would let them use it, but if magic was used around it, that ammo would
would cause the rounds to go off. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's, I don't know, that kind of makes sense. I like it in terms of
if you want to
who's at your table, right? And what's it got? What do you got to do to make everybody happy? There was a character named Merlin or something like that.
Merlin. Yeah, he had his 6 shooters.
There you go. It's like, well, that you really want to do it? Fine, we can balance this and make it just do as much damage as one.
Did any of you guys ever get to play Legendary Adventure for the brief respite that it had in the spotlight after Gary created it? He's got projectile weapons in there, hands, golden hand of Schwartz or whatever it is, that you put ammunition in. They're pistols. Okay, so Mister, you don't put firearms in my game. Had firearms in his game.
Everybody changes in time, right? And their views shift, and you mature, or you get influenced by stuff.
As GM, I hate having absolutes as a GM, because the players need to feel some level of managed risk when they're involved in any activity. So what you do, if you want the guys to have their rounds that they in the MG42, if it's a first level spell, there's a 10% chance that it sets things off. If it's a second level spell, it's a 20%. So the stronger the magic, the greater the impetus to just torch off the gunpowder. And let them know the odds.
I feel like this was also brought up in the Roger Zelazny novels. I think in the Amber novels. When you could
was the thing.
Yeah, that I remember, because the idea is if you could figure out a way, to mix the planes and so forth, so that you could do that. Obviously, you could take over an entire.
Well, right. In Guns of Avalon, that was the whole concept behind Guns of Avalon, and then he rolled that forward in Merlin's series afterwards. There was a second version that showed up on the second Shadow Earth, and so he rolled that out. And he talked about in his last set of books how he was coming up with a third idea, and that was based on something that you could find out in Chaos, in Primal Chaos. There was an equivalent thing that was grown on trees that could be harvested by the demons that lived way out there. And so those 3 formats became where guns showed up, but they had a really short shelf life, and the material was very volatile.
I'm pretty sure Merlin was maybe Brian Bloom's character, and Brian Bloom loved Boot Hill, and so it might have been a Boot Hill crossover or something like that. I don't remember exactly, to be honest with you. I wish I did. Something I should remember. I don't know if anyone in the
I thought it was Don
knows.
K.
Maybe it was Don K. Okay, I knew it was one of the. It would have been somebody when I was a kid, like knee high to a grasshopper. So, because Don K died when I was 5. Yeah.
The Dresden Files have wizards make technology stuff super, it doesn't work very well. So he's always driving around in the most, beat up car that doesn't have any electronics in and doesn't depend on watches and stuff like that. So that's the same idea.
Volvo.
You could pull the trigger, but something in the gun would break, or the gunpowder wouldn't work or something.
Yeah. wizards don't work very well in the Dresden Files at all with like technical stuff at all.
Yeah, I think he was driving a Beetle for the first few books.
Yeah, he drove a Beetle for that. Yeah.
It's all kinds
of road one without electronics.
and his gun was a revolver, the most basic like kind of gun you could have. So
yeah, my daughter is just starting
too, I think, didn't they? Guardians of the Flame. The folks who came from Earth figured out actual gunpowder, and then the wizards countered it by making a water-based magical solution to fight it, so that they had a magical gun versus an actual real technological gun. So that was an interesting pitch for the Guardian series.
Yeah, that was a great series.
That's going way back. That was early
Joel
80s?
Rosenberg.
Yeah, Rosenberg kept coughing those up, and he did. I didn't know he continued. Variants. He eventually came up with grenades. They had made just before before Carl was killed. They came up with a grenade version. Yeah, sorry, spoiler.
No, I know.
Sorry.
Oh, geez, now you blew it. It's only been out like 40 years. Come on.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Person.
And I was on page 96.
He dies on the page. You're okay. Oops.
When a first level wizard can throw a magic missile, which never misses, and does about as much damage as most bullets do in most crossovers between D&D and a revolver bullet or something. I mean, I don't see a big advantage to guns in a D&D world.
But there's a whole lot of magic missiles there. So as a magic user, I have a limited number of spells. You sure have to pick them out in advance, all that sort of stuff. But if I have, the MG42 and 500 rounds of ammo, that's 500 magic missiles. So a lot of magic users throwing magic missiles.
Well, you got to roll to hit with the gun. The magic missile always hits. It's got super long range compared to what you'd be able to hit with like an average pistol or something.
Well,
pistol, yes.
And you get one for every 2 levels. So when you're level 20, you get 10 MG42 rounds per turn. I've read the rule part, so I know that. You also get 10 magic missiles if you're level 20.
Yeah.
Just food for thought,
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's all, you just figure out what the balance is and the limitations. If you make it too powerful, then your players walk through everything. And to me, in my opinion and for my enjoyment, I don't like that. I want to be on the edge of my seat for the boss battle, right? It's got to be a narrow thing. I don't just want to go in and like crush them mercilessly. And,
did you get to the part where I put in the tiger tank?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, tiger tank is a nice touch.
Tiger tank? What?
Yeah, there's all sorts of good stuff in there. So yeah, no, the Nightfall is going to be a lot of fun. It's about a 4-hour adventure to make it through, so it's fast paced.
It's an early 41 Tiger for those who just couldn't wait to ask. It's all right. Yeah. But it's got the bad fuel system.
Pete Spahn wrote Operation White Box, which is World War II role playing using the original White Box rules. So they have all the weapons and the vehicles and stuff already put into D&D rules that already exist. I played that at the last GaryCon that was available in person.
Well, and you're always welcome to come and play War Pigs with me, but that's not really fantasy role playing.
Yes, it is, because you're making up everything in that game too.
War Pigs. I thought that was like goat yoga.
No, War Pigs. It's called Pigs because it's plastic infantry guys. So.
I was wondering, plastic infantry guys. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Actually, I wrote that because I wanted a miniatures game that you could play for less than $3.
And infantry guys do grunt, so that's kind of like right. So there you go.
There you go.
So you know what? We just got a couple. It always flies by quickly when we're doing it. Only got a couple minutes left. So I just want to open it up if anyone has any questions about GaryCon or any of the stuff we talked about, or just open it up for you guys.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
We were talking a little bit about Metamorphosis Alpha and Warden and Expedition of Barrier Peaks. During lockdown here, I've been trying to catch up on my 1970s science fiction. I've been watching a show shot here in Toronto from an idea from Harlan Ellison called The Star Lost. Okay. And so I have this idea that the Star Lost, I don't know if you ever heard of the show from 1973, inspired some of the things in Metamorphosis Alpha and the Warden and that kind of thing. So have you ever heard of this? I think you would have had it in Wisconsin, because I think it was on NBC at Saturday nights at 7:30. So I have this notion, and correct me if I'm wrong, of people in Wisconsin watching the Star Lost shot here in Toronto and going, you know what, these ideas, and it's not a great show, but it has some neat ideas. Some of these ideas may be resonating through role-playing games. Does that does that make any sense to anybody?
Well, clearly my father was never inspired by any videos, TV or movies or periodicals that all came out of his own head, right?
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait, no, he totally was. Yeah. No, he totally was.
I was going to roll with that, but I was like, all right, if he's going to say that, I'm just going to agree.
Oh, no, come on, man. I'm kidding. Kolchak, the Night Stalker. You guys remember Kolchak, the Night Stalker?
Yeah.
That's where he got the idea for a blessed bolt to kill the Rakshasa.
Oh.
So like a blessed crossbow bolt will kill the Rakshasa, because I think that's how Kolchak dropped him or something, or that's how they killed it.
That's correct. Actually, if you look through, I think it was some of the printings for DMG, Harlan Ellison specifically called out as an inspiration.
Oh, cool. Not in Appendix. Is it Appendix N? Is he in there? But he's in there somewhere, I guess.
And the show you mentioned, I think, was on for like 3 episodes. I was in Illinois at the time.
No,
it was on for like 3 episodes, and I watched it. And you're right. There were a few continuity problems.
Oh, there was more than that.
You'd be on the 3rd episode going, "What are they talking about?" But there was
Canadian science fiction in 1973 was not really.
Yeah, well, we had Star Trek. Star Trek reruns, and Doctor Who. I got tons of ideas from Doctor Who.
Doctor Who.
Yeah, my dad always crapped on Doctor Who, though. He never liked it. I would watch it, and he'd make fun of me for watching.
I know. He'd make fun of me. Are you kidding, Luke? Yeah.
I'd watch
that's a kid show. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'd watch the John Pertwee and Tom Baker version.
Those were cool.
What was the name of the movie that came out? It was after 2001. Was it Silent Running or something, where they had the spaceships that were these huge?
Yeah, with
the little robots.
That was like 72 or something.
Jim will tell you he was not influenced that by all, and he's lying on you.
Lying.
Oh yeah.
That was
He always says Nonstop is the book that really hit him hard for me.
And Dresden Files. He gives lots of props to Dresden Files. So
I didn't know it was that old.
The early ones were.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I've done a lot of work with Jim over the last 12 years. And if you haven't seen his Dark series, the Dark Outpost, Dark Visitor, Dark Colony series on Drive-Thru under Eldritch, it's worth a look-see.
Yeah, neat stuff.
And I say that without being attached to Eldritch at all anymore. It's still neat stuff.
It is.
But it is fungible.
Hey, that's right. I did promise that we would. I hinted. We talk about non-fungible tokens. So
Everybody
David, can you tell us tell us about non-fungible tokens?
I mean, there's a whole thing going on in the art world right now with NFTs or non-fungible tokens, where people are essentially digitizing pieces of art and then creating a limited quantity and selling them. They're going for this incredible amounts of money. And it occurred to me that GaryCon should have a Nifty. There's a company called Curio that's doing something with American Gods right now. And you'd be shocked. I mean, these things sell in a short period of time. And all you have to do is take multiple pictures or create a 3D, item. And then you just say, this is it. If you've got Gary's original dice, this is there's only 100 of them, and you can have it on your wall, or you can have it on your.
Is the idea though that you print them on a 3D printer, or?
No, not at all. It's that you keep it as a digital collectible, and because it is crypto, you can have the bragging rights of having the first one.
You have to hang a video screen on the wall then, or what?
Essentially, or you have an app and you just show it to somebody. Yeah, it's like Instagram.
If you lose power, you can't do it, then? Is that what?
No, because they exist in lots of different kinds of frames. Marvel does that. Marvel licenses out a company called LaserMock, and they digitize a whole host of their specialized stuff from objects that you can buy to unique covers, variant covers, all sorts of foil stuff that they do. And they have tons of this stuff, and they sell it through only a couple of exclusive vendors. It looks like it's on a little frame. Frames are made by HP, and they can be either plugged in or they can run off batteries. It's a huge.
But you can't touch
there's
it.
sports. There's a lot of sports nifties where people might have a small bit of video.
I thought the value of NFTs was that the artists could continue getting a portion of the sales if it gets resold over and over. So the artist never. So if the art goes up in value, the artist gets a benefit. But the items, I think, can actually be copied, which I don't completely understand. So it's not like copy protection. It doesn't make it exclusive. I could be wrong, but it does keep the artist benefiting from his work or from her work.
Yeah, no, but I do believe there is a way for them to mark something as being the first of however many that are officially done. It also works as a certification system.
Yeah, they have a
that may be true.
system on it, and you also get a certificate when you buy a Nifty.
Yeah, because you may have a print run of 100, and somebody takes a picture of it, and it's all over the internet. But you still have that print that says it's number one of whatever. Yep. And I think that's the way that the crypto can work. But I'm betting that we're going to start seeing all kinds of things from in the D&D world.
Before you get too deep into this is my phone. I mean, okay, I'm not modern, I guess is what you would say.
Are you actually a wizard? Are you like in part of the White Council or something?
He's trying to avoid electronics.
Only when it comes to automobiles.
That's true. You are pretty good with the automobile. Yeah, absolutely. He's pretty good. So,
wait, is that one of those old Nokias that you can use to put nails in?
It's one of those that I can walk around without a cord in the house, but it doesn't have a range beyond about 50 feet from the house.
Oh, that's a POTS line phone.
That's a
landline phone.
Yeah, that's a landline.
I have no cell phone.
Sorry.
As Luke will testify, there's sometimes you just can't get a hold of Chris.
That's true.
He's fishing or something, and by golly, you can't get a hold of him.
That's great.
I think I live in the last place that still has 4-digit dialing because it's still copper line. I know that. Can do that.
I had that as a kid in Clinton, Wisconsin. We could just dial the last 4. That was wow. I had forgotten about
Northport, Florida.
Northeast Kingdom. Can't get any farther than the top of the border in Vermont.
Wow. That's amazing.
Well, if you did, you'd end up where I grew up.
Or the old party lines where how many rings determine which house on the block.
Oh, yeah. Well, when we asked for a fax line, they're like, what are you talking about? You already got a party line. Yeah, they had no idea what that was.
Yeah, it's amazing how like kids today don't understand what it was like. Actually have to dial somebody on the phone and see if you go over a play or go knock on their door to see if they're home.
Oh, I always like that picture of the kids with the cell phone taking a picture of a payphone, wondering what the heck the thing is.
Yep. Yeah, the pace of technology is moving pretty fast. So, who knows? These nifties, these non-fungible tokens may be the way to go. And you're right. I think there's some really cool GaryCon stuff that we can do if people want it.
Luke, for GaryCon merchandise, don't do nifties. Make it something you can actually feel, touch, and you don't need power to use.
Oh, we'll still
do both.
I was gonna say I'm gonna do both. So virtual GaryCon, you get a nifty, and if you come to Lake Geneva,
well, Luke, charge the nifty people more so I can get my merchandise for less. Then I'm all for it. Subsidize me.
Yep. Yeah, there you go.
On one of these shelves here, I've got a little miniature that looks an awful lot like Gary. We could nifty that.
We could.
That would be super cool because once it's painted in a particular way, it's unique.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I have them in a Hawaiian shirt if I remember right. So that'd be pretty neat. But yeah, there's a few different things we can do. There's different color combinations for like Nightfall, the Nightfall cover, which is really cool. You could put various things in the little holes in there. There's all sorts of fun stuff that you could do. Honestly, I think the best stuff is the original artwork that we do at GaryCon. we've always been blessed with really great artists helping us out. You know, year one was Peter Bradley from Trollord Games, just doing a sketch of the old Lizard Man. I just asked him for that, and that's what the GaryCon 1 T-shirt, if anyone happens to remember that one.
Who did the Stranger Tidings cover? Because that thing's gorgeous.
Oh, that was Charles Urbach, right?
Oh my goodness, that's a gorgeous cover.
Yeah. So Charles Urbach, that was GaryCon 11. So for GaryCon 10, I think somebody had a GaryCon 10 shirt on. They might have jumped out. Oh no, Sean. So that's a Solar or an angel type figure battling a lich and his undead army, right? And he kind of looks like a younger version of my dad, curiously enough. That's coincidental. So he's, you know, defeating death and lives on. And so for GaryCon 11, I wanted to make my mother, who was dubbed by Fritz Leiber as the Pirate Queen. I believe it was in 1978 at the Grand Geneva, which used to be the Playboy Club. She was helping organize Gen Con, and I totally know her pain as a convention organizer these days. I believe she may have let a few expletives fly when things were not going smoothly and let some people know she didn't appreciate their lack of attention to detail. And Fritz Leiber thought a fiery redhead drinking a can of beer and letting people have it with both barrels was the Pirate Queen. So they struck up a great friendship, and he had a little bronze statue made of her. That bronze statue was a little risque. So I told Charles, let's put some clothes on this version of the Pirate Queen. This is my mom, and I'm her son. So he did just a wonderful, beautiful job of drawing this piece of artwork. And he uses colored pencil as his medium. Wow. And it is gorgeous. He won a bunch of awards for it. And he was kind enough to offer to sell it to me. It's substantially less than I think he hopefully eventually got for it. And I said, no way. I said, there's no way I could pay you the amount that it's really, that you can get out there. So I just took a print of it and left it at that. But he just did just an amazing, beautiful job. Larry Elmore did art for GaryCon 9, Jeff Butler for GaryCon 8. Jeff Easley did 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So maybe it's time to go back to Jeff and hit him up for another set. And of course, this year was Michael Siragos. And last year was Larry Elmore again, a second use piece that I just loved so much. I said, you know what? Sure, it's the only second use piece we've used. I don't care. It's just really cool. Funny story, no kidding. I use a third-party fulfiller for the virtual cons to fulfill stuff. And I was trying to send some T-shirts to my friend. Oh, yeah, that's it. So you can drop it down a little bit, yeah. I was trying to send some shirts to my friend Thomas Valley, who helps run a whole bunch of Adventures League stuff. And one of the shirts I was going to send him was from 12. He said, I didn't get a shirt from 12. So I said, here you go. Here's the DM shirt. Here's the whatever. And it got hung up. It got hung up by the company. They said, we know this art, was somewhere else. Do you have a licensing agreement? I had to write him and say, no, I don't. But here's a picture of me and Larry together at my convention. I mean, is that good enough? He told me I could use it. He just said, yeah, sure, go ahead. You can use it. So I'm not sure if they'll take that off hold or not, but that remains to be seen. But funny story. And honestly, I'm actually happy to be working with the company Printful because they asked that question. They're not going to let people steal other people's artwork, and I appreciate that. So hopefully they'll let me print that stuff, or I'll have to ask Larry to send me a license agreement to use that one, which I'm sure he'll do. It'll just delay it a little bit. But
did I mention I found all the Stranger Tidings files? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, great. Yes, that was a fun adventure too. All right, so I think we probably better wrap it up. I don't know, Jeff. Do we have time left, or is it time to wrap it?
No, sir. It is time to wrap.
Jeff is deserving.
Oh, damn it. No, sir. It is. Yeah, it's time to wrap.
It's time to wrap it up.
Jason's game coming up.
All right, sweet. Well, thank you all for joining us here for a special session of Luke's Lounge, where we in fact got to talk about the Crucible, GaryCon 13 Crucible writing contest, our module coming out with Turbo and Chris Clark, Nightfall, which probably is one of my top. That's not I don't know if you can call any of them my favorite, but this is a good one. I'm really excited about it. And I got to work in the word fungible by saying non-fungible tokens several times. So that definitely made my evening complete. So thank you very much. Stay tuned. Coming up, we have Jason Charles Miller and an all-star cast doing Search for Gaxmore. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in about 5 minutes.
Thank you, Luke.
Thanks, Luke.
Thanks, Luke.
Thanks, Luke. Take care.
Thanks, Luke.
Of a kobold queen with visions of a world made new in fire and rage. Driven by prophecy, she has filled her followers with the raging passion of her cause. Now, you step forth into her burning realm. Dark shapes move among the rising embers. Thick-skinned beasts belch gouts of fire. It's an ambush! Roll for initiative. Battle is about to commence. Epic encounters. Turn your RPG up to 11.
And you're back.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the March to GaryCon, brought to you by Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms. Thank you very much, guys, for sponsoring us and making this possible. I'm super excited. We have our final game of today coming up, part 1 of the Search for Gaxmore with Jason Charles Miller, B. Dave Walters, Vivid Vivka, Abria Yengar, Eric Campbell, and Adriana Cardoza. So it's an all-star cast, all these players. The cast is excellent. I've gone over, Jason and I went over some of the things he's going to do, although not everything, so I'm going to be surprised, but really looking forward to this story. We have some great giveaway products from our friends at Trollord Games. I believe we're doing another Hero Forge giveaway this evening as well. And also, of course, an Electrum chest for Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms. So without further ado, please stay tuned, grab a seat, grab some snacks, kick back, relax, and let's have some fun.